Hi everybody. I'm doing this on Monday morning because a couple things came up on Friday. Couldn't get this video in before I left and I didn't have the camera for the weekend. So I'm doing this Monday morning. Hopefully you can see this by Tuesday, White Block 3 class. We are taking a quiz at the beginning of class, and then we're going to start to look at relationships and functions, getting us into slope. Okay, so this part is a little bit abstract. It's different than just solving an equation. When we talk about a relation, a relationship, a relation, that's like everything that we talk about. We're dealing with things like an XY chart, a point, a collection of points, where we've got X, Y here. Or it could be as a graph, which covers the same thing. And so when we have a relationship, we're dealing with two things that have a relationship together. Because think of the root word, relationship. You can't have a relationship unless you've got two people. Okay, so that's kind of the overarching topic that we're doing. Function. I don't know how much they got into functions in your Algebra 1 class. I know they really don't do that in geometry, so I take a little bit of time. We're going to spend the rest of class on Tuesday and then all of Thursday's class examining functions and how they operate. But a function is a one-to-one relationship, meaning it's a relationship where I'm drawing a blank right now, I apologize. When you have an XY chart, you've got a number, there's going to be there's a different number with it. Now, you're going to start to see when we get into domain and range shortly, I'm going to explore more about what a one-to-one relationship is, because you need to kind of know more about domain and range. So we're going to talk more about exactly what one-to-one relationships mean soon enough when I get into domain and range. But what a function looks like is this: f of x, g of x, and it's going to equal x plus 2 or something like this. In Algebra 1 you saw this as y equals. And a lot of times teachers and students view this function sign as the y equals, because once we give an x, then we get a y, okay? And this means function of x plus 2. If I said this, 3, and put the 3 in for x, then you put a 3 in for x here. And so it's equal to 3 plus 2. And that's how you interpret and translate functions like that. F and g right here, they're just titles of the function. Function f, function g. This could be we usually use f and g on that, sometimes h. Notice the alphabetical order, f, g, h. So that's, and then when we have a linear relationship or a linear function, we get a straight line. And that's your slope. When we get a straight line, that's created by that. This will give you a straight line. This is not a linear relationship. It's a curve. We'll get into these later, but that'll give you the parabola. And we'll look at that later. Okay? So, if you were taking down some notes, you could have paused that, written some things down related to that. Now I want to talk about two terms. Domain and range. Again, I am not sure who your Algebra 1 teacher was, or whether he or she got a lot into domain and range. Sometimes it's a topic that's skipped over a lot in math, in Algebra 1. You could also think of it like this: x, y. What's your input? What's your output? What goes in? What comes out? And when some teachers, when they're teaching linear relationships, sometimes they'll do something like this. They'll do a visual, and they'll say, what's gonna go into this function? So the function I'm gonna give you is x plus 2. I'll do that one from before. So the domain is the input, what you're putting in. Again, a lot of times people call it the x. The range is the output. What are we gonna get after we put that in? So the question is, what is our domain? Meaning, is there any restriction on the numbers that can go in? Can I put in any possible number ever? Like, can I put in -2 into this? If I put -2 in, what's gonna come out? -2 plus 2 is 0. What if I put in 0? 0 plus 2 is 2. What if I put in positive 2? 2 plus 2, and you get 4. So when we think about domain is, can I put any number into this function? And the answer is yes. So when we talk about domain, it's going to be all real numbers, because anything can go in. You can put anything in. The question is, can anything come out? Meaning, can we get negative numbers from this? I just put in -2, 0, and 2, and I only got 0, 2, and 4. Does that mean we're only going to get positive numbers or numbers greater than 0? And the answer is no. So finding the range sometimes is a little more difficult, because if I put -10 into this, -10 plus 2, you get -8. So the range is also all real numbers. Okay, and so our answer to the question, if on a quiz or an assignment, the question is, what's the domain and what's the range? You're going to have to say all real numbers for this one. However, the answers could be all numbers greater than 0. And I'll do one real quick on that, where it's a little different. And that'll be the last thing I do. So, x squared over x. So I put in -2. -2 squared is positive 4. 4 divided by -2 is -2. Let's put 0 in. 0 goes in. 0 squared is 0 divided by 0. Do you know that you can't divide by 0? There's no solution for that. So you can't get an answer. If we play this out, that's the only number that can't go in, that can't make an output for this. It's like it breaks the machine if you think about this as an input-output machine. Okay? So the domain is all real numbers. You could put anything in for x. There's no restrictions on that. And we'll talk later about will there be restrictions on domain, okay? Because there are. Range, all real except 0. So that's the restriction. You can't have 0. You could have 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 divided by 2, you get 2. Okay, so that's kind of the sense of domain and range. And we're going to work on this a little bit more in class over 2 days, because there's a lot of layers to this that I'm going to have you guys work on. Okay?